In this film, I'm going to look at an album by a band that you don't really hear spoken about in shoegaze and dream pop circles. Yet, this is a band who very much crafted their own dream pop sound, especially earlier in their career, with 3 #1 studio albums in the UK charts and a respectable amount of top 40 songs. And no, it's not the Verve I'm talking about. This is a story of a band who took a very real tragedy, the loss of their studio and gear in a fire, and turned things around abruptly, using their rebirth as an excuse to move on from their Manchester and Madchester roots and craft something interstellar instead. A blend of dream pop and space rock we'll look at in depth throughout this film. Doves are a band I first discovered in my formative years, with my first MP3 player that I remember just adding a plethora of CDs to. Released at the turn of the century, the debut effort from Doves, Lost Souls, is infused with melodic and sampled layers, a testament to the band's origins as part of Manchester's dance and EDM scenes. As Sub, the band, Jimmy Goodwin and brothers Jez and Andy Williams were regulars in the Hacienda, a nightclub of legendary proportion in the UK. The Smiths playing their free times, with the venue acting as a catalyst for the Britpop and Madchester movements, with Oasis, the Stone Roses, Happy Mondays and Chemical Brothers all finding their musical footing at the venue. After a fire destroyed Sub's recording studio on Manchester's Blossom Street, the group started anew as Doves in 1998, releasing one of my favourite albums ever in 2000's Lost Souls. The album was one of my very first introductions to effects, and this probably stemmed from the group's origins as a dance outfit, familiar with sampling and textural processing. Lost Souls features layered vocals that, dare I say it, are very shoegaze indeed. Again, it was probably one of my first introductions to reverb, especially reverb as a creative effect. As well as reverb, there's delay, as well as tremolo and other modulation effects, used excessively and to great effect throughout the album's 59 minutes. As for that fire, it's referenced on the album's opening and closing tracks. At the time of its release, Lost Souls was considered to be the best debut album by a British act since Definitely Maybe by Oasis. While I've looked at some of the background and cultural aspects of Doves as a band, I'd like to take an approach as a textural-based shoegaze musician and visual artist to go over the texture elements that make this album so special to me. I'm not interested in traditional musicianship, the kind of stuff that gets plastered on billboards and across the charts, which are just an illusion, by the way. An illusion that's really thin once you get past the first layer, that being the realization it's all a pantomime. What I love about Doves is there aren't necessarily any lead parts, vocals or otherwise. The band using the instruments in a way that is very much familiar to how I also do, as a means to create sound and texture and not necessarily melody and structure. It's a very imaginative album in that way, all about textures, with the band adding layer upon layer. It's rather criminal, they're not spoken about more in alternative circles, with the vocals on this record even more layered and effects focused than many a shoegaze record. The vocals are perhaps one of my favourite examples of vocal sampling ever. It's as much about the effects as it is the vocal part itself. Vocals aren't used necessarily as a lead part, rather buried below the textural instrumentation. As with shoegaze, the vocal message is not delivered via discernible lexicon, but rather the vocal cadence, itself manipulated by a plethora of effects. Lyrically, also vocalist Jimmy Goodwin making reference to the very fire that saw the inception of Doves as a band.